So, playing the demo, it's really hard to tell what's a cinematic and what's not. So, what classifies as a cinematic? Because it's so seamless.
Right.
So, what classifies as a cinematic?
So, cinematic basically is the moments in the game where you don't have control as a player. And that's pretty much the easiest way to sum it up, because some of them are real time. In fact, most of them are real time in the ending. We just cut away.
Yeah.
So, and then others are actually pre-rendered, and they still have to be rendered in the engine on the PS3, but we just do that for loading basically. So
Yeah. So how did you win? Because it's seamless. I mean, the Poseidon's horse crab water thing. He got his first shot in because I was too busy looking at it. What was the challenge in blending, going so seamlessly from cinematic to, playable footage?
Well, that specifically what it was all in game.
Right.
That wasn't a cinematic, but it really is. Our cinematics really are in the engine. It's all real time. So the challenge is just matching the in-game art. I think they have all these levels that they build, and I've actually worked on quite a few levels myself in the game, and you have to match all these things up, like fog, lighting, blue, motion blur. There's literally like a whole checklist that you have to go through and make sure everything's matching up perfectly. Otherwise, you'll see the difference when you have the cinematics. So, and as the game progresses through development, the art is always changing. We're trying to make it better and better.
He doesn't look anything like the concept art.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, you always have to just match, and that's tricky.
Was that the biggest challenge, or was it something else?
The biggest challenge is probably getting the Titans to run in the engine.
So big.
Yeah, they're really big, and they're really heavy on just the resources that they take up.
The level of details incredible.
Thank you.
I was sitting there staring at the lichen growing out of guys. So that was it. Just really, it was a space challenge on the PS3.
Well,
a processor challenge.
There's a certain amount of memory you can load in at a time. I mean, it's not infinite. Even though the Blu-ray, we had 40 gigs that we used up on the disc, and that was great in itself. But we still have a limited amount of data that we can load through and stream through the system.
Well, so you're almost pushing up against that space cap.
Right. Yeah. The dual-layer discs can use 50 gigs, and we use 40.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's quite a bit. I mean, if you were to break that into DVDs, it'd be about 5 gigs.
Yeah.
It's a lot of information. And, when we have the high-res textures and everything in there, and just great audio quality and stuff like that, it takes a lot of skills.
Yeah. Now we saw. Maybe you can tell us. We saw the historically accurate violence. I was joking with Todd down at E3 about God of War's historically accurate violence and historically accurate nudity. Did you get to work on any of the historically accurate nudity? Okay, that smile means yes.
Yeah, I mean we have some stuff in there.
Yeah.
There's some cinematic moments.
About? More prostitutes?
It's later on in the game. I can't say.
Who's left? Okay, which gods are left? There's Poseidon.
Well, you'll have to play to see.
Well, there's 4 left. You see them in this. So it's Poseidon.
Well, that's who you see that's who you're introduced to at the beginning of the game. Right. So at the beginning, you're seeing Poseidon, you're seeing Hades, you're seeing Zeus. Yeah. And I don't actually know if we announced who that other guy is.
Okay, I wasn't sure because you see him. Now, is it, I mean, so far in the cinematic, it's sticking to Greek myth. I mean, the game's, other than the casualties, it's sticking pretty close. Was that a challenge as well?
Yeah, we are based on Greek mythology, but we totally take our own spin.
Sure.
And we take our own liberties. Whenever there's a point where we think it's kind of boring in a sense, we're just like, okay, fine, we're going to break away from Greek mythology. No one really knows better. It's close enough. At the end of the day, it's a game, and it's about having fun and telling a cool story. And so you always keep that in mind.
What were the thought processes? Because I mean, it's not punch, 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 stabby, stabby. It's, I call it a blood ballet. What goes into, okay, how is Kratos going to come up with a new and ultraviolet way to kill somebody? How do you determine that?
Well, there's a lot of thought that goes behind it, I suppose. It's like, how do we make new exciting, I guess, finishing moves?
Right.
That'll get people talking about the game and like talking to their friends and saying, hey, you gotta check this out. We've done a lot of things in God of War 3. We have different camera perspectives. You might have seen something like that today. We got more of that in the game. Not the same, different, what that is, but there's different ways to play with the camera. There's different things we can do with the technology. just the detail. And
you've got some enemy POV stuff going on. I mean, it is more. I mean, we saw the credits when it loaded. It is very simple. How did you balance, you know, the great beauty shot with good gameplay?
well,
Like, did you have a time limit on cinematic? Like, no more than 90 seconds or
yes,
anything? Yeah, okay.
that's a great point. So some of the original cinematics were 3 minutes long, and Stig, the game director, would say, you know what? This is really long. Let's cut it down to 1 minute, and we still have to tell the same story, but in 1/3 the time. And Stig would say, well, it's pulling us too much out of the pace of the game, and we need to have fast pacing. And our game is really about high pace, high intensity. It's a really important story thing we have to tell here. We're going to cut down. So we go down and we cut shots shorter. We take full shots out, things like that. And it sucks sometimes because you spend a lot of work, but the end result, the game is that much tighter. I like to think of God of War as like a 40-hour game condensed. You know, take a garbage truck and condense it down into a 10, 12, 14-hour game. And you know, that's kind of, I think that's why people enjoy the experience a lot. It's really just so refined and focused on what it is, and it doesn't try to be anything else.
Do you think the pressure was greater this time to deliver? Because this is a game that sells consoles.
Yeah, well, I think it's the pressure for all the first-party studios is we got to make games out there to sell PS3s, and got to give an example. The gamers say like, okay, this is a big purchase, but here's why you should buy it. And yeah, I know a lot of fans out there where they have really high expectations for the game, and you know, it's tough to up the ante after playing the Colossus in God of War 2. You know, that was a pretty big, epic boss fight for us. You know, I think that's like a classic in the industry. So like, how do we improve on that? It was really hard. We had to sit down a lot and have a lot of design meetings, and what can we pull off on the new hardware, and how can we incorporate the design off the new technology that we have?
Now, most end of trilogies wouldn't do that. They just finish the story, give a few new improvements, and go home with a lot of money.
Right.
Was it nice to not do that? Like, it looks like you've ramped it up instead of pulled it back.
Yeah, Stig was very adamant about it. He said, we can't be making God of War 2.5. You know, we have to make a game that when you play this game, you go, okay, that's a PlayStation 3 game. That could not have been done in the past. I have instantly validated my purchase of this new machine. Here's why, and you know, you could talk to your friends and say, this is new, this is amazing, I've never seen this and this and this and this, and you know, that's the kind of perspective we took from development, from the development side. You know, right from like really on, you know, it's a 3-year development, but right from the beginning we decided we have to go all out, guns blazing on this project, and you know, we wouldn't have released it if it wasn't ready, if we didn't achieve something that for the end of the trilogy, you know, it's got to go out with the fans.
Yeah.
It's really important, and we all love God of War. Everybody working on the franchise, we love it, all the developers.
Without giving it away, is it a Kratos ending?
Is it a Kratos ending?
Is it a Kratos ending?
What does that mean?
Well, Kratos is one of those characters in video games, like Lara Croft. Even in free games, there's a specific sort of story, and there's right things and wrong things. Is it a Kratos ending?
I don't know. I'm not going to say anything about the ending.
Okay.
The ending's awesome.
The ending's awesome?
Yes.
Okay. Big monster involved?
I don't know.
You don't know? Yes,
well,
you do.
I know, but
yeah,
he doesn't know.
Just a couple more questions. 3 years, it's American. You've been working on this a long time. Have you come out of it tired and want to do something completely different? Or are you energized and have new ideas you're going to take to your next project?
Well, I think everyone working on the project, and including myself, we love God of War. We love Kratos is such a cool character. He's really fun to work with. He's really versatile. But at the same time, we've come up with all these great ideas, and we have a whole list of ideas that won't work in God of War.
Right.
They'll just pull you too much out of the world. It's not realistic for Kratos, things like that. And so we've got all these ideas, and we're thinking, well, we got to take advantage and use these at some point. And so hopefully, you know, with a future game, we can break off and do something that's new and really use all those ideas in that game. And you know, as artists, we're always excited to